What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the RPO College Football Podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones, and I'm back with my guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ray Roberts. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm good, man. I am good. I'm excited, and I'm better than some of these coaches right now in this college football right now because they're going crazy. It's just chaos right now. It's just chaos. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but it's just a lot going on in general. But before you start, I want to give my condolences to everybody that's been in Texas, all the drama that's been going down in there with the shootings and stuff like that. Guys, man, it's just got to stop, man. And I hope that we kind of, I know we're a sports podcast and we're here for sports, but this is world news and this is, involving children. This is not involving, adults. These are children. This is the future of America. So, condolences to the parents, friends, family, things like that. But this really needs to stop. Ray, you want to add in something like that real quick?
You know what, Jerome? I am having a hard time watching the news right now, to be honest with you. We all know young children. We have known them, and we all obviously were young at one time.
Yeah.
The fact that you have 10 or 11-year-olds just dying like that is just incomprehensible, to be honest with you. I don't know how to put it in words, and my prayers and thoughts are out for everybody who has been affected by this. I just don't honestly I don't have the words for this. I can almost get mad like Steve Kerr did on the news last night, and then they were early this morning.
I'm glad he did because that.
No, I mean honestly, the fact that you have anybody who's watching what's going on right now, any congressman or any person, and that isn't, I don't even know, isn't upset or wanting to do, but you know what? This is not the first time, man. And I don't want to say or think they don't care, but I mean,
something needs to happen. We gotta do something. I personally don't know what to do. I would love to kind of do some research and look around, and hope maybe some are our listeners or whoever's out there in general has some ideas. Let's just bring that to attention to some of this comments room and then bring it to them because this needs to stop. And I'm sorry for bringing such a dark kind of story early on in the podcast, but I just felt like it just needed to be said, and it's kind of weighing on my heart really heavy right now. So again, like Steve Kerr said, I'm tired of saying condolences, but it is. Yeah. So, to kind of get off that, let's get into some. Let's talk about some football. It's kind of a hard transition right now, but we will definitely do that. That's what we're here for. So, unfortunately, but let's get into this coaching news because I don't know what's going on with these coaches. All right. So if you guys have been living under a rock, I'm pretty sure everybody heard what's going on. Nick Saban kind of called out some schools. They didn't really name names, but he called out schools. And obviously, when you call out school, it runs through the head coach first. Nick Saban, don't pull any punches. Talking about the NIL is out of control. He points out that Texas A&M bought every single player on their team, which is ridiculous. But hey, right now they're really highly ranked team right now in the recruiting aspect, as well as Mr. Deion Sanders. Right now, he called him out as well because of his involvement in getting the number one ranked player in the country to a lower tier kind of team. It is a sorry, I always say it wrong. HBCU team, which it's a lot of historic balance to that. Deion Sanders has been working really hard trying to get that team to where he getting it at this point. You know, and Deion Sanders is a big name. So, Ray, I kind of want to know what's your point, what you think of this whole mess, because first starting off with Nick Saban first, then we'll talk about the repercussions from that.
I mean, I pretty much can see both sides of the story. I think that some of the things that Nick Saban said are correct, but I do think that he comes off a little bit like sour grapes because, I mean, he didn't get one player and he's that upset about it. I don't get that. I think that we've known for years that players have been getting paid in one form or another for years, decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the SEC is the main culprit of all of it, to be honest with you. I mean, like, I don't want to sit here and point the fingers at certain teams, but we've all heard the stories, Jerome, about how these guys were going back to their dorms and they were getting like bags of money just taken in and just dropped off in their dorms. So let's not pretend like it's not real. It's been real. So that's my thing about it. Like, again, there's some part of the truth to what Nick Saban said, but he also does come off a little bit like sour grapes. Like Alabama has never played a player. Really? Yeah. Joe Davis went from Western PA to Alabama and he never got a dime. I'm sure. Okay. Absolutely. Without doubt.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard dynamic to kind of. So I'm on a sense of view, right? Because it's like I do feel like Nick Saban's being a little petty with it. I mean, Nick Saban, no matter what, when it comes to paying somebody or not, Nick Saban's gonna get the kids anyway. I mean, the history behind that school, what he's been able to do, the person he is, the way he kind of recruits players, paying or not, he's gonna get the kids. So I think that maybe he is a little, I think he's a little on edge because he feels like I'm not getting the recruits that I normally kind of get, and maybe I'm kind of frustrated about this at the point, which I don't disagree with him, but at the same time, like, dude, like, you're Alabama. Don't, like, if this was Michigan saying that, I could see. I mean, let me not say that because y'all know I'm a Michigan fan. But if it was Notre Dame and they said that, I can get it a little bit more. Like, all right, I get it. Y'all frustrated because y'all had like maybe like 4 or 5, recruits that y'all could have got. But now this other school that's nowhere as good as you guys getting these getting recruits. But Alabama, I mean, I don't know. They got the history. They got they're still getting a lot of good players. I don't know. That's weird for me. But since Nick Saban called him out, there has been some backlashes. Deion Sanders was the first one to say something. He took it to Twitter talking about his son came to him in the morning, showed him the news and how disappointed he was and how he wasn't like that kind of guy. And then Jimbo Fisher came out and he wasn't as nice. And if you think Deion Sanders was nice about it, Jimbo Fisher was definitely not as nice, saying that, hey, he knows some history about Nick Saban because, him and Nick Saban are boys. He knows some histories about Nick Saban. If you want to go that route, let's go that route kind of thing. He said that he denied the whole situation himself as well. It was very, very sticky. So I want to know, what was your feeling on some of the feedback, if I might say that?
I think it's been very mixed. I've heard people that are on Nick Saban's side saying he's right, what he's been saying, that he's not wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And then I've heard where certain people think that, again, Nick Saban's being a little bit of a sour grape type thing where Deion Sanders and Jimbo Fisher are not doing anything wrong that no one else has ever done. So why are they being singled out? I don't get that part.
Yeah,
I mean, Deion Sanders is Deion Sanders, man. And if you don't think he's going to attract, especially defensive backs, then you're just stupid. I mean, but I don't want to call Nick Saban stupid, but that's basically not very smart. You can't question, Deion's Deion. Mm-hmm. He is always about what will get my name and my university's name in the public eye. He's always been that guy.
Yeah.
But so you can't fault a kid to be attracted. Deion Sanders is one of them guys that, like, people just like to talk to him. He has a open, kind of genuine type of a personality.
Yeah.
Where people kind of are attracted to him. Mm-hmm. So Nick Saban again should just Again, it comes down to
he already comes off with the flashy. He already has the flashy appearance of himself. The way he dressed, the way he acts, the way he's still kind of like he's an older gentleman that can still relate to the young population.
Well, and plus he's not a guy who's, and I'm not saying that he's not the X's and O's guy type of a coach. He's a player's coach because he was a player first and foremost. Correct. So he's going to be that type of a guy again, where players are going to gravitate to him. So if I'm a defensive back, who do I want to play football for? Duh. I mean, that doesn't take a whole lot. Now, Nick Saban is a defensive back guru, and he's one of the best of all time. So I'm not saying he's not. But, I mean, this kid wasn't going to go to Alabama anyway. His other team that he was talking to, most of it was Florida State. My only question is, if Florida State hadn't been down the last couple of years, would he have went there instead? I don't know that.
Yeah.
But again, Deion getting that player didn't surprise me. He's Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimbo Fisher and his is a very good coach. And Texas A&M is a very has a lot of good athletes on their team. They do. And I don't know how they got all of those players. I've heard a lot of stories about some of it. But, I mean, again, not doing anything that half the other teams in the SEC aren't doing. So,
yeah.
Why
didn't Jimbo just got was under surveillance for doing something last year? He was under some kind of investigation last year.
Yeah, there were people that said that he recruited a couple guys that weren't supposed to go to Texas A&M. Then the last minute they decided to go there, and people were very surprised about it. But I mean, again, man, I follow, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Yeah. And Notre Dame recruits guys until they sign that letter of intent to go somewhere else. And every other team should do the exact same. So if you have a guy who was supposed to go here or there and then decided to go Texas A&M or anyone or where else at the last minute, that's their decision. So,
Definitely. I agree with you, Ray. I just think that this whole situation is crazy. And I'm going to pose this last question to you. Now, now that this has been going on, it's been about a week now that it went down, the whole situations and stuff. Do you think that there, will be more eyes on recruiting situations now with the NCAA? Because I'm hearing that there's eyes on the situation now. But what do you
whose
think
eyes are they? Whose eyes? The NCAA? Come on, man.
Is there anything they can do to prevent something like this from happening?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. What are they going to do? I mean, my question is this. Now, everybody's backed off a little bit. I mean, we're kind of getting into this a little bit later because last week this time, it was a really hot topic then.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because we had our thing middle of last week. We kind of were right ahead of it. So we didn't know about it. We had talked about the NIL a couple weeks ago and what it was doing with recruiting and all that. But this story pretty much came out, I think, last Thursday. I think a week ago.
Yeah, it came out right after our podcast.
Yeah. So, I mean, but, everybody understands that Alabama recruits as good as well as anybody in the country. That's why I don't understand why he would just, Nick Saban would single guys out. If he wants to come out and say like everybody else was, this NIL could turn into a real sticky situation with the way people are trying to throw money at kids right now. We all agree with that. But I wouldn't have singled anybody out. That's where I think he really made his big mistake. Because who knows what people know about him? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Now,
and him and Jimbo Fisher had a relationship. They worked together at Alabama. So
my question is this: how many more Jimbo Fishers are out there ready to point the finger and talk about Nick Saban? Now that might not happen until he retires.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't know. I mean, we just don't know. I mean, I respect Nick Saban, and I know it comes off like sour grapes because I don't like Alabama.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But the funny thing about it is, if you remember, I think it was like 3 years ago, me and Alan were doing a show, and we did a little debate over who was a better coach, Nick Saban or Bear Bryant. And I think it was pretty much it. I mean, we both had good points. Nick Saban is a great coach, the best coach in
I think
college.
y'all both said Bear Bryant, though, right?
No, he won. He said Nick Saban. I took Bear Bryant.
I knew that, yeah.
And my thought was, well, before Bear Bryant, Alabama wasn't Alabama.
Yeah.
So that, to me, gave him the leg up. Now, Nick Saban has won more national titles now. He's moved on past Bear Bryant as far as national titles. So I will say that also and give him his just due. But Bear Bryant just cheated like everybody else, not the way Nick Saban does. So,
Yeah. Well, the situation altogether is just crazy. Like we said last week, this whole NIL thing is just gonna be chaotic. I just think it's just gonna be a chaotic for now until we figure out some way to keep it contained a little bit. But it's still early in doing it. I think we were like a year and a half in or something like that.
Yeah.
2 years almost.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like by Nick Saban pointing the finger at like one coach in his own conference, that was a huge mistake.
Oh yeah.
That was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Again, he could have just come out and said, "Yo, I think the NIL with the way people are recruiting and using it right now could turn into a problem." And really to be if he wants to be really the political way, like, and I think our conference could be hurt by this. And then that's the thing. Like Jimbo Fisher came out and said, you're pointing finger at 17-year-olds, and he said that like 3 or 4 or 5 times. That's how you get to people.
Yeah, and I could tell it's itching at him because we talked about this in our last podcast last week. Actually, is when I went to the Senior Bowl, and there was a thing called the Senior Bowl Summit, which usually have coaches, some players, things like that. They come and talk about the nature of the sport, things like that. People ask them questions and stuff like that. So when Nick Saban was there, you could see he was already kind of irritated with the NIL already because they did ask him a question about that. So I think like the fact that he might be losing recruits, people keep asking him about it, and then he just kind of like, all right, like I'm just gonna say whatever now. Like he just open-minded with it and just said what he did on that last part conference because it wasn't like he just came on and just said it. It wasn't just like that. He was asked about it. It was in another kind of conference kind of thing. So I think he just getting irritated with people keep asking him about it. He keep losing guys that maybe he wanted, that he thought he had, and it just came up to that. So I don't know how it's gonna get fixed, but it's just crazy.
It's not crazy, and there's no way of fixing it.
Yeah,
there's no way of fixing it.
Speaking of recruiting, we just got another big wide receiver just went from a smaller school to one of these teams that looking like they're trying to become a powerhouse as well. Getting a lot of recruits is USC. Jordan Addison, wide receiver from Pitt, a big their big receiver that helped out. I'm saying small hands. He just went to Pittsburgh.
He didn't Slovis.
Huh?
Slovis.
No. The Steelers. I'm sorry, I said Pittsburgh.
Oh, Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. There you go. Kenny Pickett. Yeah.
Small.
Yeah, he was a huge receiver for in next year's draft. What do you think about him going to USC?
I think that again, in my perfect world, I wouldn't allow that to happen, but that's me. I don't think you should be able to leave a school just to go to a school because a coach that you want is just asking you. Like, do we think that the portal is created for this situation? I hope not, because I just don't like it. That's all.
Yeah. And again, key referencing last week's podcast. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. We talked a lot about NIL, transfer portal. I think the combination of the transfer portal and the NIL is just making the game really difficult to not watch or even like it's just making people like you and I that have been watching college football for so long and seeing how the integrity of the game was back then. and then I'm saying it was perfect back then either, but it just now that players can go wherever they want, and now they're being brought to be a lot of like lackluster teams later on, which I think is a problem because I'm looking at recruiting. I mean, inside the house, we've been doing a lot of talk to a lot of high school players and things like that, and just looking at how the recruiting situation is going. A lot of kids are going to USC. A lot of kids are going to Oregon. A lot of kids are going to Texas A&M now, where it wasn't this strong of a recruiting with those teams in the last few years, and then all of a sudden now it just, oh, I want to go there. It just, I don't know, Ray. Do you have something that you want to add to that, or?
No, I think the Lincoln Riley is taking advantage of the system. I think he's one of them guys that is going to. He is. I mean, again, is there a whole lot wrong with that? I think there is, but I just don't think that the NCAA thinks that it's a problem. I think that they're only worried about making money. They don't really care about anything else. They don't. I mean, like, I wish that wasn't the case, but I don't believe it is. I think they first and foremost care about making money. That's it. So, I mean, I don't like how the portal is being used, but I'm not being able to stop it because it's a runaway freight train right now. So
No, for real. And my thing about it too is like we were already complaining before how we didn't like how the playoff system worked because we always got like the same three teams every year anyway. Now with teams are about to be powerhouse teams, and I'm not saying it's gonna work out each time. You know, it might not work out, but you know the chances of a team being more successful with a lot more talent. I mean, I'm not trying to bash on anybody's team right now, but if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they got Tom Brady, and then when Tom Brady got there, they got Gronk, and then they got Fournette, and then they got this guy and this guy. When you do that, you increase the amount of chances you get to be a good team. So now that we got these organs, now we got USC, you got Texas A&M, you already had Alabama, you already I don't know how Clemson is doing right now. You know, you're gonna have a good group of teams that are gonna be really, really good, and it's the problem I have with the NBA because they do the same thing. It's like everybody they try to get all the all stars on one team. How is it gonna affect the other schools, the Cincinnati's of the world, the teams that have Cincinnati had a pretty good roster, got to the playoffs last year, it didn't work out, but hey, they got there. Now are we going to start seeing the same teams every year? And I think that's my biggest worry of this whole situation.
I don't know if that's going to work like that, though. You know why I think that? Because, like, say you're a player and you're going to enter the transfer portal. Are you going to want to go to Alabama and be on the bench as a third stringer?
No.
I mean, so like the teams, like to me, teams like USC could definitely benefit though. Because they don't get exactly the same players that Alabama gets anyway. But all the West Coast guys that may think about moving will now say, oh, no, I'll just stay home now. Because I think Lincoln Riley, I don't think Lincoln Riley is a great head coach, but I'm not sure about that yet. We'll see how he does. But I know he's a great offensive mind. He absolutely is. So if you're an offensive player, that's going to attract you to him. So,
Yeah, it's just difficult to see how this is working. I mean, Notre Dame's still doing good with their recruiting, number one right now in their recruiting. So that's the only happiness that I got, even though I don't like Notre Dame. But it makes me feel like it's good. But then like you see a team that like honestly, let's say Michigan and Ohio State, I haven't seen much with those teams. I mean, here and there we get somebody. Obviously Ohio State doing a little bit better than us as they used to do in their recruiting, but like you don't see big names or like even like highly recruited players going to these schools anymore. You're starting to see a trend in these names in schools right now. So
I'll be honest with you, I'm really I'm kind of proud of how the Big Ten is reacting right now to all this stuff. They're not getting involved at all. I mean, Ryan Day could absolutely come out and say the same thing. Like, man, we were trying to recruit this guy, and we lost him, and we feel like it's because, they're getting offer more better money than what we could do for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he doesn't get involved, and obviously Ohio State is a great program who recruits very well usually. But no, they've not. They've done good. They're still Ohio State. Michigan, I think, is in a state of flux right now, Jerome. I do. I think that until they do something to silent the whole is Jim Harbaugh going to leave after this season thing, that they're going to be in a state of flux. I do. So, again, I rather everybody was good. I mean, I don't like playing teams that
same.
I just don't. I don't like it. I hate boring. I don't want everybody to be. I don't want it to be a half a dozen great or even 3 great teams, and then a bunch of mediocre teams in the middle, and then I mean, I don't want that.
Yeah,
I want everybody to compete at the same level. I do. Mm-hmm. Now, as long as we're going to have let's face it, man. I'm going to be honest with you. As long as we have the SEC teams all taking advantage of every system they can, we're in a tough spot. I mean, I've lucked out. See, that's why when people tell me Notre Dame should join a conference, no, they shouldn't. Okay? They're never going to join a conference. It's never going to happen. Because what benefit is to them?
Mm-hmm.
Before they want to recruit against, say they would go to the Big East. To me, that geographically makes the most sense. But they're affiliated in basketball to the ACC. Yeah. So what do you do about that? And then they want to play SEC teams because they are the best teams in the country. So the only way you could do all 3 of them things is to remain independent.
That's true. Oh, you're right, Ray. You're right. And then they can pick and choose their bigger rivalry games. And
I'm lucky in a way because I really thought firing the head coach could hurt Notre Dame or anybody recruiting wise. We've had this conversation before. Yeah. Now I was lucky that they had Marcus Freeman, who was a very, very good coach and apparently a dynamic recruiter. So I'm very excited about what's going on with Notre Dame right now. I am. So
yeah, man, I can't say the same, but that's good. That's good stuff. All right, speaking of ACC and teams, we're going to talk about we do some rankings today. We're actually going to start with the AAC, the American Conference right now, American Athletic Conference rather. We're going to start with them. We're going to do the top 8 teams for them. So Ray's going to give his top 8 teams that he has for this upcoming 2022 season. And Ray, let's start with your number 8.
I have Temple at number 8. I do. I have I think Temple is a team that they play hard every week. I'm expecting them to make strides this year. Now, of course, that's not – they have Stanley Drayton as their head coach. They actually had DeJuan Mathis as their starting quarterback this year. I think Mathis is a very nice athletic type of a player. I think that they're going to be – I mean, I would love for them to be good because I root for Temple because they're a somewhat local team. But I'm going to have – I have them at 8. At number 7, I have Tulane. Again, a good defensive team with head coaches Will Fritz. I think that they're going to be a better team than people think they are going to be. But again, you're not talking about one of the best teams in the conference.
So, Ray, real quick before you continue with that, are you not afraid of the all-freshman quarterbacks at this moment?
With Tulane?
Yeah.
I mean, am I afraid of it? Yes, but I'm encouraged because I think they have a good offensive line and a solid run game behind it.
Okay.
So I think
I'm just wondering. I just looked at the roster now. And I was like, oh man, these are all freshmen.
They are. They're a young team. But if you look, that is something. Even Cincinnati, who I'll get ahead of myself, I have at number 1. They have a lot of question marks on the team, but they're still athletically as good as any team in this conference. So I have them at number 1, but not to jump too far ahead of myself. Okay, so number 6, I have South Florida. Okay, again, Jeff Scott is their head coach, good player. I mean, a good coach. Timmy McClain is their quarterback. He's a young kid. I think he's somewhat talented. I think that again, not one of the best teams, but right there, they could be a team that could make some noise. I think they're a good physical team. But again, we'll see. At 5, I have Tulsa. I think Tulsa was a better team, a better defensive team last year for sure.
Oh yeah.
They've lost a little bit of talent on defense. Phil Montgomery is their head coach there. Davis Braun is their quarterback. Nice, solid passer with some upside as an athlete. Houston Cougars, I have at number 4. Dana Horgeson is their head coach. Trying to get through these because we have a lot more to do. I got Memphis Tigers at number 3. Ryan Silverfield is their head coach. They're a really good team. When we talk about offense, when it comes to Memphis, every year they put guys out there to be in the draft. So good team. I have the Knights from UCF at number 2. Gus Malzahn is our quarterback. Mikey Keene is our quarterback. I'm sorry, Gus Malzahn is our coach. Mikey Keene is our quarterback. He's a somewhat athletic kid who's young but still getting where he needs to be.
So I'm sorry, Dylan Gabriel. He's not going to be starting this year.
He's not going to be starting this year.
Hmm.
I don't think so, man.
I know Keene's a freshman. He's going to get overthrown by the freshman. You think?
I believe so. Okay. I do. I think Gabriel's injuries will make them put this kid on the field, and I think he's a better athlete, and I think he's a little bit of a better player, to be honest with you, at this point. I know everybody roots for Gabriel. I do too. He's a good kid, but I think that the freshman quarterback is the way to go. I do, because I think really I have them finishing behind Cincinnati, but that's only if Keene plays quarterback. Okay.
And then obviously number 1
is Cincinnati. Now they have Evan Prater at quarterback this year, replacing their quarterback from last year, which is going to be huge shoes to fill. It is, because their offense was predicated on the run game, and I think the thing I like about Prater is he's more of a. I think he has a stronger arm than the quarterback they've had the last couple of years. Doesn't have as much arm talent, but accuracy is a problem for both of the guys that they've had. And I think Luke Fickell, at one time when Brian Kelly was first let go at Notre Dame, I thought Luke Fickell was the guy I wanted them to try to get to come in and coach Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know.
How are you saying that?
Well, there was word that Marcus Freeman may leave Notre Dame and either look for a job, or that Brian Kelly was going to offer him a lot of money to be the defensive coordinator at LSU. And I was just thinking, well, if that happens, maybe we try to get Luke Fickell. Maybe we can even convince him to stay, Freeman to stay, if Fickell becomes our head coach. But it's worked out to my benefit because, again, he has done a great job recruiting at Notre Dame, so I'm happy.
No, he has. But let's get back to Cincinnati. I want to know because, obviously Cincinnati lost a lot of talent last year. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, both corners, safety. I think 2 linebackers, if I'm not mistaken. Edge rusher. So they lost a lot on that team. Are you not scared of that, or is it just maybe just the competition on this team?
I think am I a little bit suspect until I see them play together on the field? Of course, but I think they have the best coach in the conference, and I think that he'll get his guys to play for him. I wouldn't be surprised if either Memphis or UCF is right there with them. But I think in the end they'll have enough talent to. They're the best, the most athletic team too. Their offensive line is still pretty solid. I think they'll be okay.
Definitely. No, and I like your list, right? I just think that I would still pick Cincinnati high. I don't know if I'll put them number 1. I haven't did my rankings myself, but I don't know if I'll put them number 1 per se. But I would put them up there 1 or 2. But I think for me, I think Memphis and, like you said, USC are the I feel like they're the next teams that's going to be challenge the Cincinnati Bearcats. So, and I really like you said, right? I really like their Memphis offense. They always producing really good running backs, and I like what they do on their offense. Defense always kind of lacking. I think they're going to be better this year on defense. So we'll definitely see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to our next ones. We're going to go with the ACC. And Ray, let's get your rankings on that one. Let's start, actually, since we got some good time. Let's do the whole SEC.
Okay.
Let's do them by divisions. So let's start with the Coastal Division. So Coastal Division obviously got Duke, Georgia Tech, I'm about to say Alabama, Miami, UNC, Pitt, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. So let's get your rankings for those, right?
Let me one more time, drunk, because I had this whole division all in one line. I don't have them broken up in divisions.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You want to do it like that then?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to do it like okay.
I sprung it on you differently. My fault.
That's fine. No, I just have them from 1 to 14 actually. So
let's do it. Let's do it. I'll start with 14. Who you got?
Okay, Duke at 14. I think that they're the least talented team in the conference. Of course, they after being a pretty solid team a couple years ago when they had Daniel Jones, they've pretty much fallen on hard times since then. I have Georgia Tech at number 13. I mean, this is the one that they're usually better than this, but they've been really bad the last year or so. So got them at 13. Got Syracuse at 12. Again, a struggling program trying to make their way back up to, again, like 3 years ago, they're actually pretty good. So they're not good anymore. I have number 11 is Virginia Tech. Okay, they're again an athletic team, but until I see them put a good season together, I'm still waiting for that. This is the one that bothers me the most. I mean, I have Boston College at 10. I like their quarterback, Phil Dracovic, but I don't see them as they lost two of their best offensive linemen this year. I don't see them as protecting the quarterback. Mm-hmm. I really like Dracovic. I just wish he would have went to a better team than Boston College. He's kind of like, I don't want to say he's wasting his career or his college career, but it wasn't a good spot for him, so. At number 9, I have Virginia. Okay. I think Virginia is actually, again, they were a good defense last year. I think they're not going to be quite as good this year. Mm-hmm. After that, I have Florida State.
Lose anybody?
What's that?
Who did Virginia lose?
On their defense?
They lost many people. Yeah. That anybody they had that got drafted or anything like that?
No, some of them were just like undrafted free agents and stuff. But I mean, I don't like them in this conference either because I think other teams are getting better in this conference. To be honest with you, I mean, I have Florida State number 8. Again, more athletes than they play to, but they're in a tough spot though because they're not getting the same amount of good players that they used to get. But number 7, I have Louisville with Millie Cunningham, the quarterback. Nice athletic kid. I like him a lot. North Carolina at number 6. Mac Brown, who we know I like Mac Brown as a coach. Drake May is their quarterback, and they have Jacoby Criswell. One of them guys will be their new quarterback, replacing Sam Howell, which is not going to be easy because Sam Howell was a very good college player.
He was.
And after that,
they lost a lot of running backs too. So I'm curious about their running back situation as well.
I think Matt Brown is a good coach, so we'll be fine there. But I do worry about the quarterback position. Yeah, I do. They went from having like one of the best quarterbacks they've ever had to having a big question mark now. So Number 5, I have Pittsburgh. Pat Narduzzi is their coach, who I like their coach. They have Caden Slovis, who transferred there from USC. Yeah. I am a Slovis fan. We'll see how he does, though.
You say you're not, or you are?
I am. I'm a Slovis fan. I like him. I thought his game film from 2-3 years ago was great, and then
it was.
The last couple of years he's not played as well. So
and I know when we were talking about him in the past that the offensive line have not been helping him out over there at all.
No,
Maybe
it wouldn't.
I don't know too much about Pittsburgh's offensive line, but maybe if they can help him out a little bit more, maybe we'll see him rejuvenate himself. But you could tell that, there was a lot of games last year where he would do a lot of comebacks and he would really come back, but it's just like he couldn't get it done because they were so deep in the hole already.
Yeah, I agree. The other problem was, well, like last year when they lost Drake London, he lost his best playmaker down the stretch
Yeah.
too. So that didn't help him at all. My only question is that, like, if he had Jordan Addison, I feel a lot better.
Oh yeah.
But since he doesn't have him, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure how Pittsburgh's going to be this year. I have Miami at 4. I think Miami is going to be a good team this year. I think we're going to see better play from them. I think they're going to be an ascending team the next couple of years. They hired Mario Cristobal to be their head coach again, who had been an assistant there for a while and went out west and then came back. He was at Oregon and did a great job at Oregon. I kind of expect him to do the same thing at Miami eventually.
Are you a fan of Tyler Van Dyke?
I am a Tyler Van Dyke fan. I'm not a huge fan, and I think he had like good in stretches last year. I wanted to see more consistency from him, but if I get that, I think I get a good quarterback. So,
no, I agree, and Miami's always been a running team anyway, so I think they'll do well on the ground with whoever they got. I think Jalen Knighton was a good freshman for them. They don't have a lot of age in that position. I mean, their older guy is Cameron Harris, which I believe he's going to be the starter. He's a good guy, but they got a lot of young guys that run that position. But I think that they've been using those guys a lot. So
yeah,
I'm sorry. Harris is going to be a senior. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that they have Thomas Davis at defensive end. I think they're a solid team, and I again would improve coaching. I mean, let's say last year, coach Manny Diaz last year was a dumpster fire. So can't get much worse than that. So
Yeah, it was pretty bad last year.
Okay. At number 3, I have NC State again. When Dave Doran is their head coach. I think that they're going to be a good defensive team again. I mean, I do think that their offensive line and losing their left tackle is going to be something they absolutely have to worry about replacing. But I think they're a good team. They're a good physical team. And number 2, I have Wake Forest. And then I have number 1, I have Clemson.
Wow. So what is it about Wake Forest? Because I know like they were 11-3 last year. They were a pretty good team. What is it about them that you think they're going to be the second best team on that division? I mean, they haven't been that great of a team. They got young quarterbacks all across. I think Sam Hart is going to be starting. What is your take on them?
I like Sam Hartman. I think he's a good player. I like A.T. Perry, their number 1 receiver. I think he's a good player. I like Thomas Grippo, their defensive lineman. I think that they're – I mean, you know what, Jerome? I don't look at their schedule. I look at their roster, and I think that they have a good roster. I mean, I think they did have a good year last year. I don't think that they're going to fall that far back. Mark Balbus, their linebacker, is a good football player. I think their defense is going to be where they win games, but I think that it'll be a good defense. And just hopefully, again, I just think Sam Hartman is a good game managing type of a quarterback, or if they can give him a good solid run game, I think they'll be fine.
Definitely. Let me run through their schedule quick. I'm gonna go through theirs and then I'm gonna go to Clemson's as well. So their first game is VMI. I never heard that school in my life.
Right. So they're gonna beat that team.
Yeah. They got Vanderbilt. They're at Vanderbilt. They're at home for Liberty. They're at home for Clemson. That's gonna be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
They're away for FSU. They're at home for Army. They're at home for Boston College. They're away at Louisville. They're away at NC State. They're home for UNC. Home for Syracuse and away for Duke.
Probably 7-3 in that record in that games. I would think.
Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah,
heard Clemson's a tough game. NC State's a tough game.
yeah,
And Louisville in other years has been a pretty good team, but I don't expect them to be as good this year.
yeah.
So no, I think
They're away for Louisville though.
yeah. Again, I don't know what Louisville is going to be this year. I do like Malik Cunningham a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't. I think again, I don't. I think they should win that game. I do.
I will say it is looking like a favorable schedule for them.
No, it's not. It's. I didn't
Yeah.
even look at their schedule because I didn't. I just
Mhm.
think that Wake Forest is a good team, and I like Dave Clawson. I think their head coach is a good guy. So
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Clemson obviously gonna be number one. You think DJ? Oh man, had it ukulele. You think that he's gonna have a bounce back year this year? He struggled early on. He kind of got stronger at the end of the season. What's your take on that?
no, I expect them to bounce back and be pretty good this year. I think that they just can't run it like it's Trevor Lawrence out there this year, man. They
Yeah.
need to run the ball and let this kid throw the ball downfield. And when things break down, then get out of the pocket and do what you got to do. Don't design runs for him. He's
Yeah.
not Trevor Lawrence, man. He's not.
Yeah. So let me go through their not roster, their schedule real quick. So first game they got Georgia Tech. They're at Georgia Tech. Home for Furman. They're home for Louisiana Tech. They're away for Wake Forest. We already talked about that one. They're home for NC State. They're away from Boston College, away for FSU, home for Syracuse, away for Notre Dame. That's going to be a big one. I think that's the one you're trying to go to, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go to that one if I can.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're home for Louisville, they're home for Miami, and they're home for South Carolina. So, we think they're going to be how they going to fare after all this.
Well, I'm not going to predict that they lose to Notre Dame, but I'm hoping they lose to Notre Dame. But I mean, I don't think there's any way they don't win at least 9 or 10 games there.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think they're going to still be really good. They're gonna have Will Shipley as their main running back. I think the receivers are always good. Trying to see if there's a name that points out to me. Not really. Sweeney, he's pretty good receiver. He did some good stuff for them last year. So and then their defense. I just think their defense is just stacked. Honestly, I think their defense is going to carry them this year. They got a lot of good players. Miles Murphy, probably their best defensive player on there. They got Brian Reese back there as well. Demonte Copart, which a guy that we interview. I think he's going to be really good. They're a highly recruited player. Going to be able to actually probably going to start this year, or at least get some a lot more rotation. He was a freshman last year.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? I can name a lot of guys on here. There's a lot of good defensive players. Trotter Jr., Jeremiah Trotter's son.
Yeah.
You don't know who that is. Obviously, Eagles legend. Who else we got?
RJ Davis, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
KJ Henry, defensive end. Keith McGuire, linebacker. They're still a good roster. They still have Dabo Sweeney, a coach.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be the best team in this conference still.
I think they're going to have one of the best defenses in the country. Honestly, I really think this defense is going to really set the bar.
Yeah, I do too. I think that honestly, it'll be Kenugulea Lele, however you want to say his name is. Can he come bounce back and have a good year? If he can, I think they'll be pretty good. Like you said, Will Shipley's a good running back. I think their offense will be pretty good, and their defense has always been. Last 2 years, their defense has not played as well. Yeah. But I think it's because they had such a good depth at off defensive line when they won their national title, and they kind of all graduated the same year. And it hasn't been in quite the same defense since then.
Correct. No, I agree, but I do think they got some good pieces there. I think they're gonna be really good on defense or offense. I do think they're gonna be bounced back. I don't think Gigi's gonna have the year I thought he was gonna have last year because If you guys don't remember, you can do the replay. I did give him my Heisman runner-up, and that was nowhere near that. So I regret saying that. But I do think he's gonna have a bounce back year. Will he be a top receiver or even a draftable player? We'll see. I hope so. He got the size for it. He got the arm for it. Just got to put it all together. And like we said last year, their offensive line was bad last year. It was just bad. So
here's the thing, though, Jerome. Really, their offensive line's never been that great.
yeah.
When Trevor Lawrence was there and Travis Etienne was running the ball, they just hit a lot of their inadequacies on the offensive line. They've never had
before that, you had Deshaun Watson.
Right. You've never had a super great offensive line. It's always been a bunch of solid guys. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And a lot of playmakers everywhere. So
no, I agree. But that's gonna do us for us today, guys. Thank you all for checking us out on this edition of the RPO College Football Podcast. Make sure you go check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We find all your podcasts. We are on there. We got a lot of player interviews that will be on there as well. And if you want to find some video of some player interviews, we have a lot of them on our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now live. So make sure you go like and subscribe on there and hit that notification button so you can know when we do go live, so you can listen to us and see what we're doing and join in the fun. We love live comments. So make sure you go in there. And if you can't be live, you can definitely put your comments in there, and we'll definitely comment back on there later on. So Inside the Hatch right there. And make sure you check us out on all our social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, on Inside the Hatches. Definitely make sure you go check that out, because we got a lot of content, a lot of great players that we're interviewing. We're going to different schools and things like that. So make sure you go check that out. And the support would be really, really helpful for us. So thank you guys for doing that. Ray, any closing words, sir?
No, just my thought and prayers are out to what happened in Texas yesterday again, and just sad time. That's all. It really is.
Yeah, 100% agree. Guys, stay safe out there. Keep the prayers up. Let's do the right thing as a country, and stop the violence in any kind of way. Bullying, whatever. It's not right. So let's just be better human beings so we can have a great future. So from Jerome Jones, this is Ray Roberts right over here. Thank you guys for checking us out. Good luck. Stay blessed out there, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.